Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we are at property address 22060 South Leslie Avenue here in Beaver Creek, outskirts of Oregon City. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running. We're going to zero out the camera at the base of the cleanout. We're dropping into a 3-inch cast iron cleanout. And I describe everything as if you are standing out in the street facing the front of the house. So we are currently, the line exits out the rear of the home, but right at the rear right corner of the house here, right next to the radon exhaust vent. There's your clean out, there's your radon pipe right there. Nice. You're zeroed out, off we go here. I want to give some kudos to the homeowners. These are people living on septic that are actually treating their septic line like they should. We might be approaching the tank here. It looks like the line's swapping over to ABS right in front of us. The reason I think we're approaching the tank, I've done almost 25,000 sewer scopes at this point in my career. And probably a good 1,500 to 2,000 of those, I'll bet, was septic. So there's your tank right there. The reason I knew we were approaching it is just about every stinking septic system out there, last 5 to 10 feet of the line, very commonly will belly out like you just saw there with standing water. And I've been trying to figure out why that happens for the last 13 years I've been doing this. What I surmise is as that tank, because it is very heavy, there's a lot of water in it, waste in it, as it shifts and settles over time, that obviously has to displace earth in order for the tank to settle. In doing so, it loosens the soil in the immediate circumference around the tank and causes that last little bit of the line to settle. Not everyone will do it, but a super high percentage of them will. So anyway, that right there appears to be the 90-degree drop into the tank. Let's see if I can baby it. Yeah, it looks like we got standing water just around the bend there, which is what you will normally see. So I'm going to go do some locates just to verify we're sitting next to the tank lid. Generally where I locate adjacent to a septic, that locate will generally come in within about 3 to 5 feet of the tank lid. Tank lid's usually on the opposite side of the inlet into the tank. Alright, just located the camera head successfully, terminating just right behind the house. The house is kind of a shed type thing built onto the back of it. We're just right outside the back of that. So from the looks of it, the line kind of does an angular shot towards that tank, kind of underneath the shed area. So I tried to get a locate there. It's a tricky spot. There's a bunch of little boulders around the tank lid. I'll get a little better locate here. Yeah, the last little bit of the line there is updated to ABS. It's hard to tell if the line bumps to 4-inch there, visually speaking, especially with a belly and a shifted offset joint. It's really hard to eyeball that and tell if that's 4-inch pipe or not. But you've lost about half the, about half the line there is, actually, you're fully submerged. Start out as 2 inches of standing water. The water line hits the top of the pipe. You can see there the water line's going right up to the top of the pipe. If not at the top, stopping just shy of it. So depending on the diameter of that ABS there, you've got anywhere from, at minimum 2 inches to at least 3, if not 4 inches of standing water. So this is a spot I am going to recommend a correction on to help prevent blockages from occurring. It runs from about 15 feet to about 19 feet. And because of that closer proximity to the house, it's one of these I generally recommend to fix on. The concern is, honestly, over time, if that continues to shift, you can see how that pipe end there is pulling away from the cast iron. You got a separation. If it persists, you can end up with a disconnected pipe joint. So it's something I would correct. If for some reason it's not corrected, I would certainly keep an eye on it, rescope it periodically, just to see if it's continuously shifting or not. Alrighty, and I'm using red paint. Sorry, normally I use green, but you'll see red paint there. And I'm getting about 3 feet deep right here. So I got about 3 foot 7 inches at the end, but I'm also locating in an awkward spot there, trying to locate through boulders. So anyway, being that there's grade loss there, you're going to be about 3 feet deep approximately at the tank. And the markings don't go right up to the tank because of those boulders. I didn't want to put any paint on the decorative rock. But you can figure that, the repair guys will figure that out. The last foot or so of that. Now, the flow line of the cast iron's held up quite nicely. There's no channeling taking place or anything, which is good to see. So I would just recommend that last about 4 feet there be updated. It's already updated. I shouldn't say updated, but correct the grade on it. And sometimes that belly happens because of the of a spot repair. There's a little bit of an art to spot repairing a line. Some guys will get in there, they'll pull the old cast iron out, which often has much thicker pipe walls than ABS pipe does. Sometimes it's drastically different. And they won't take account for the fact that you've got 1/4-inch pipe walls dropping into a spot where the pipe walls used to be, you know, 1/2, 3/4 of an inch or more thick. But it's also very easy to undermine soil, loosen it up when it's already a very common thing to have happen. So that can be what causes the settling to occur. But honestly, I see that kind of settling on very new septics all the way to very old ones. It's a super common occurrence. So recommend a repair there to correct that. It is close proximity to the home. You know, from just a flow standpoint, if you take the same belly, just standing water on its own, not necessarily looking at joints that may pull apart. If you were to situate that same belly, you know, 40, 50 feet from the home, it would be much likely to result in a backup if a blockage occurred because of head pressure. If you block up here, you've only got, you know, 15 feet of pipe to fill up or so for your back to the foundation wall versus something that's 40, 50 feet out or more. It provides a lot of water weight to push a blockage through. When you're short distance from the house, it's just more likely to lead to some kind of scenario. Especially if the household is going from 2 adults to something larger like my house, which has 4 kids in it, a lot higher volume going down the line. It's more likely to result in a problem. So after any repairs are done, make sure a rescope is performed. And you want to make sure you're doing a rescope after the line is buried to ensure you don't end up with more settling problems. A lot of folks make that mistake. They scope when the trench is open. Everything's going to always look perfect at that point. You don't have any load on top of the line. So make sure you get your rescope done when the trench is closed. Have me back out. I'll ensure that happens. And or if the repair guys do the rescope, make sure they're showing the surrounding areas around that. You get landmarks that you are indeed at this house, and you've got some obvious landmarks to go off of, and they show you that the ground there is sealed up at that point. Otherwise, the rest of the line there up to 15 feet. Cast iron's in good shape for its age. Clean, has good flow. Overall, line is functioning, but it is draining a bit slower than it should due to that standing water there. And I'm concerned from a flow standpoint. I'm also concerned, especially when you start seeing joints pulling apart like that, you'll get a progressive situation that's going to cause a joint to fully separate at some point. So I would definitely get that corrected. And being that it's only 3 feet deep under dirt, that's a fairly easy repair to deal with. But you'll see all the paint markings back there. It's all red. It starts with an X marking at the beginning of the belly, and the paint markings will lead you right up to that little black tank lid.